just by serendipity, after I finished graduate school, I was still toying with the idea of being a writer, or could I be a writer and a photographer? That's really what I was trying to do. And I decided to write freelance for a photo magazine called Photo District News. And for my master's project, I had done a profile of the photographer Eli Reed, who's a fabulous, fabulous Magnum photographer. He had done a book pretty recently called Black in America, which is, he was just so devoted. He literally exhausted himself on every project he did. He was so devoted to his photojournalism. And so I had written this profile of Eli Reed, and so they hired me to do other profiles. And it started out that I got to do profiles of Magnum photographers who were, all of these photographers, not just the photojournalists, they were all, really happy to be having a profile written about them, but they were also incredibly giving, generous people. And they were doing assignments and traveling, and occasionally I could go with them. And sometimes these interviewing would go on for months because they were in and out of town. And so I really got to know a lot of them and hear their stories. For instance, I did a profile of the Magnum photographer Leonard Freed, who was really did very impactful pictures of the civil rights movement. And I remember him telling me, he also went to Eastern Europe after the war and photographed there, and saying things like, let me be perfectly clear, I do photographs for myself. I have a problem, I have a question, and I go into a place and I photograph to help me solve and understand these problems or these situations. And luckily, his and so many other of these photographers' work also helped all of us to solve and understand things. But they had that universal quality. But I thought that was a really beautifully honest thing to say. That was how he opened up to me. He also told me he used to, after these exhausting traveling bouts and doing different projects, he would come back to his home in upstate New York, and he was building a stone wall. And I said, well, what's that about, Leonard? And he said, it's not about anything. It's really important to just do something that's not about anything. And I don't know, that stuck with me too, the kind of necessity to do something meditative and without a goal. Trying to think who I did. I also did profiles of Elliot Erwitt and got to speak with him, a beautiful, beautiful platinum photographer. I also did a profile of Kenro Izu, who does beautiful, quiet, beautiful platinum prints. He's Japanese, and he has a book about sacred places and a book about Bhutan. And I think one of his books is called Internal Light. And just the way he approached things so calmly and quietly, and the platinum process is really laborious, and you have to be so careful. And just watching him, I learned a tremendous amount from really doing fine art and still life. On the flip side, when I was writing these profiles, I also got to meet the photo editors who were hiring them. And I got to learn about how they interacted with each other and how the photographers would handle the editors to get to do what they wanted and what the editors loved. I got to interview Kathy Ryan at the New York Times, and there was Jim Mars was at W.W. Norton, who was publishing really major, important photo books at the time, and passionate about photography. And all of these people I got to know and become friends with. So they all became role models. They all became guides. Some of them I got to contact later when I had other questions, and they're all really giving, generous people. And I really feel very lucky to have gotten to do these assignments to get to know them.